Hi everyone, I thought I would make a quick video to talk about annotating your readings. You'll hear me say this throughout the term that it's really important every time you're assigned something to read that you take notes and annotate it. So first and foremost, why do instructors always say that you should take notes? Well, it really does help you focus. If you're someone who gets distracted easily, or if you start reading and then your mind kind of drifts off, you start daydreaming, that happens to me too. It really helps to have a pen or a pencil in your hand and to physically write down notes while you're reading, and to just kind of get some of your thoughts down on paper. You can annotate online as well, but that's a different video. For recall and for future work as well. We'll be reading lots and lots of different papers, opinion pieces, and studies throughout the term. And when it comes time for you to write your own papers, it will be helpful to you to remember that you had read a study a couple weeks ago that had some good support points that you can include into your own paper. So by annotating and writing notes while you're reading, it helps us to digest the information and to remember it for future work. So what I did here is I took a page of an article that I had just read, and I included some annotations just to show you an example of what some annotations might look like. So we see here at the top, obviously the title is the first thing that you will see when you open up a new piece to read. And I think it's important to have a dictionary on hand, or just be able to access one online, so that any words that you're not completely sure about can be looked up. So in case you didn't know what the word elusive meant, I went ahead, I looked it up, and I got the definition. So it's something that's difficult to find, catch, or achieve. And since the title is The Elusive Concept of Globalization, this already gives you an indication of what the author's argument is, right? So we know that this author is probably going to argue that that globalization is not something that's easily defined, right? Also, the author. You should always know who the author is before you start reading, just to give yourself some context for who's talking, and just to establish their credibility, and to know that this is someone who's worth reading. So a quick Google search let me know that Hamelink is a Dutch academic known for his work on communication, culture, and technology. So the piece starts with this sentence here: in order to explore the meaning of the globalization concept, it is worth distinguishing between its use as an analytical tool and as a political program. So again, pay attention to key words, like or especially verbs like distinguishing. This tells us that part of the author's goal is going to be discussing like the differences, right, between globalization as an analytical tool and a political program. So that's why I underlined those, and I put a note here on the right just to help myself remember that this is something that I should be looking out for. And then of course, with the S and globalization and the way that program is spelled, this is just a note to myself that the article uses British spelling, so to expect that in the coming paragraphs. So this first sentence also is a giveaway, right? It tells us what the author's focus is. So it says the concept of globalization is used to describe and interpret contemporary social processes. In this application, it has both supporters and skeptics. So that tells me that the author will likely discuss viewpoints from both supporters and skeptics. So in my mind, I'm going to be looking for that as I continue reading. I'm going to be looking for supporters of this concept of globalization, and also for skeptics of this concept. And sure enough, the first bullet point under that starts with saying what the supporters believe, and how since the 80s, more and more people around the globe have been living in free market economies. Now, they made a reference to former President Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, who is a former British Prime Minister. Now, if you didn't know that, if her name or either of their names were not familiar to you, then you should circle and just do a quick Google search. It just takes a few seconds to type in a name, and that gives you more context. Again, context is really important. And understanding what an author is trying to convey. This sentence here, I thought, deserves some attention because it says capitalism has spread from covering some 20% of the world population in the 70s to some 90% in the 90s. So that is a huge shift. So it's something that I underlined, and I just made a note here that over just 20 years, the percentage has gone from 20 to 90%. I'm not sure what that increase is. I'm not a math person, but I know that that's a big jump, right? So this next paragraph starts with skeptics. So here it's, here we know that the author is now shifting gears, right? So the author is moving from discussing what the supporters believe to what the skeptics now believe. So I just kind of circle those two in boxes, because if I go back to this article later to get more information for something that I want to write, it's easier for me to identify which information is where, just by putting a box around these terms. So this short paragraph ends with this sentence here that says, they point out that if the world were a global village of 100 residents, only 6 would be Americans, yet these 6 would have half the village's entire income, with the other 94 existing on the other half. So I thought that was a pretty stunning statement, and it's something that I would probably try to corroborate or just get more information on. And I've seen statistics like this before. So it just reminded me of other similar anecdotes, and I think it would be worth investigating or seeing if the author had footnotes or something that would give further information on that. So I hope that's helpful. It's really important in order to glean the most information from what you're reading, to actively engage with the reading. And that means thinking about it, asking questions, highlighting certain things, trying to get more information than what's on the page, and also reading between the lines. And that does take practice. So we will be practicing throughout the semester. And yeah, I look forward to working with you guys on this. Thanks.